In a fourth quarter comeback win over the Brooklyn Nets, the Bulls have secured their fourth straight win, their first 4-game winning streak this season, and just the second time in over 2 seasons, which is insane when you think about the team's current roster and their perceived direction as of right now, and the fact that they're winning 4 straight games when they couldn't do that when they were actually trying to win and be competitive. What's also crazy is tonight's win marked the Bulls' 28th W on the season. Their preseason over-under odds were set at 28.5. Just one more win would put them over that mark with still 16 games left to go on the season. So shout out to all you who took the over on the Bulls before the season started. This game was weird because they didn't play that well through the first 3 quarters of the game, especially against a bad team like the Nets. They were missing shots, missing defensive assignments. They were terrible on the glass. They were getting outworked on the boards despite the poor shooting from both teams. But man, everything changed in the fourth quarter. When the Bulls kicked off that frame on a 9-0 run, the energy level was different, the pace was picked up, the hustle was there on the defensive end. Granted, it's the Brooklyn Nets. They play very poorly in the fourth quarter, which has been a common theme for them as of late, blowing another double-digit lead and getting outscored 34-18 in the final quarter. They were missing shots left and right. They were giving up way too many second chance points to the Bulls. So yes, the Bulls killed it in executing and pulling away in the fourth quarter, but you're also talking about a Nets team that is, for all intents and purposes, tanking. Although I will say, the Nets, now with Cam Thomas back and healthy, Cam Johnson was obviously there, D'Angelo Russell, Nick Claxton, like the Nets did have their best players, so to speak. So I guess I shouldn't really sell the Bulls too short here. The biggest thing that stands out to me in this game, in a game like this, even if you claim this game doesn't matter or the Nets suck and are trying to lose anyway, you can call it however you want. But when you see these guys come back in the way they did, getting stops, crashing the offensive boards, taking care of the ball, they only had 1 turnover in the fourth quarter, only 1 turnover despite the level of pace they were playing with. But more importantly, it was the fact that they did all this without Josh Giddey, who has been playing some of his best basketball and has been really running the offense for this team. No Lonzo Ball. We all know Lonzo's impact, what he means for this team and how he impacts both ends of the floor. And then Vucevic, who I don't believe played at all in the fourth quarter, which was fine. He was on a minutes restriction. I'm sure Billy Donovan had the intention to bring him in to close out the game, but because the group they had out there was playing so well and had this thing wrapped up on their own, there was really no need to bring Vooch in to run the risk of a potential injury. So to me, the fact that a relatively inexperienced group of guys, a group of guys, some of which just started playing together, showed up and executed in this fashion, didn't fold, kept fighting, stayed aggressive, maintained their composure, and closed it out for a win, to me it says a lot about the mentality of this group, the maturity they're showing, and their ability to rise to the occasion in these moments. I mean, that closeout lineup was very interesting. You had the 3 new guys in Huerter, Collins, and Tre Jones, and Coby White and Julian Phillips. We've never seen Phillips close out a game like that unless it's garbage time. Now, I would have liked to see Modest close this one out yet again, but I also get that when a group is playing well and has gotten you back into the game and is putting you in a position to win, you ride with them until things fall off. And Julian Phillips, he was incredible. This was the best game of his young career. 16 points off the bench, which was a career high for him, 5 assists, also a career high, and 7 rebounds. 5 for 10 from the floor, hit a couple threes, was getting to the foul line, 0 turnovers, and was a plus 19 on the night, a team high in that stat. All of this in 34 minutes of play. Next man up mentality, and Julian Phillips embraced that. And then when it comes to the new additions, the guys the Bulls acquired in the Zach LaVine trade, Tre Jones, man. I mean, Tre Jones, has just been phenomenal in the fourth quarter in the past week. Billy Donovan said after the game in his post-game interview that Tre just has the it factor. He knows how to make winning plays. He knows where to get the guys the ball, hustles for loose balls, makes plays defensively. Jones had 5 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists in the fourth quarter alone. This kid is good, man. I know I've said this before, but the Bulls need to take a hard look at the guards on their roster and decide what they want to do, who are they going to keep, and seriously consider Tre Jones as one of the people that they should be keeping on this roster because the dude can play and shows up in big moments like he did in this game. He had 18 points for the game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. And then Kevin Huerter. I used to call this guy the tank commander. Now we need to call him Kevin Hurt draft pick. Dude was supposed to be trash and has actually been making winning plays for this team, and it's not just with his three-point shooting. I always kind of viewed him as a three-point shooter, one-dimensional type player, but no. He's been getting to the hoop, cutting the basket. even has some handles, has been rebounding well. Good stuff from Huerter when I thought the Bulls were just going to have to eat his contract. Zach Collins didn't start this game as Vucevic re-entered the starting lineup, but he finished it off and helped the Bulls get some big-time stops with his defensive effort. And hey, how about Patrick Williams? Patrick Williams even looked okay out there in his second game back. Was finding his shooting stroke, was getting downhill and attacking the basket. Not going to hold my breath because we've seen nice games and flashes from Pat throughout his career, but it was still nice to see nonetheless over some of the stinker performances he's been putting up recently. And then, of course, Coby White, who has just been balling. Been on an absolute tear. 7th straight game with 20 or more points, 31 points in this game on 12 for 24 shooting, 3 for 8 from 3, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. I've said this before, but what's been sticking out to me is how Coby is taking over these games and putting the team on his back. They need a bucket, he's there to get it. His mid-range game, those fadeaway jumpers have been so money recently, like he cannot miss. And again, if we're talking about this being a season for player development, a season where we want to see how these young guys grow, mature, and improve, tonight is another prime example of that. Except for Modest only playing 15 minutes tonight. That's kind of unacceptable. I know we got in foul trouble early, but for the rest of the season, there should never be a game where Modest is getting less than 20 minutes in a game. There really shouldn't. Outside of that, I really don't have any qualms on what I saw in this game. The Bulls are going to be going on a long 6-game road trip now, starting on Saturday against the Rockets, and they've got some tough opponents ahead of them, so we're probably going to start seeing some losses trickle in, but the Bulls, more or less, are firmly locked in to the play-in tournament at this point and are only 1.5 games back behind the Heat for the 9th seed. So let me know what you guys thought of this game. You let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.